Despite not being one of the best jobs in the entire game, the Dragoon, of course, has its own unique niche in terms of playing Final Fantasy V. But of course, despite being a tank slash defender, it's more of an aerial combatant for the most part. But for the most part, it's considerably by many not to be one of the better jobs, unfortunately. But technically, it doesn't mean it's the worst job, but at the same time, it's not the best. Hi, I'm MurderStorm331. Back to doing some more guides for Final Fantasy V job guides for beginners. And today we're going to be looking up Dragoon. So Dragoon is pretty much regarded to be very identical if you played Final Fantasy 3 or played Final Fantasy 4 with Kain Highwind. And you'll definitely know that Dragoons are basically jumpers. And they love to jump in the air to deal a lot more damage. And of course, they deal more damage when they use lances or spears. Unfortunately, there's also another reason why most people don't like using this job. It's because it's got very limited armaments. For one thing, it can only use knives and lances or spears. It can use shields, so that means it'll have a little bit better evasion. It does wear pretty much some heavy armor as well as light armor, helmets. Technically, it's one of the few jobs that requires heavy armors, like the Knight, Samurai, Berserker, Mystic Knight, just to name a few. And it can even equip some pretty much lightweight gear if it needs to be. So anyway, the Dragoon's stats are basically, it has a strength modifier of 18 plus 18, agility at plus 5, stamina at plus 15, and magic at minus 12. So technically it loses out to the Samurai for the most part, and by 1 point in terms of strength. Samurai does have way more better skill options than the Dragoon does. It only gets 3 abilities. It's not a very hard job to master at the grand scheme of things. So basically, you'll learn these three abilities, and that'll be it. Sadly, Dragoon gets pretty much outclassed by Samurai if we were comparing it by strengths. But they would lose against monks, knights, and even berserkers in terms of having better stat modifiers. It does have a little bit low-end agility. I mean, there's probably other worser ones for it, but it doesn't come up close to being a very fast job with heavy armor. And of course, it does have a pretty decent stamina modifier, so it can basically do very well taking blows for the most part. But there is a downside to this because of the Dragoon's jump ability. That also leaves any of your party members that are not geared for physical combat or have high stamina modifiers. That leaves them to get destroyed and whatnot. But the Dragoon is not entirely a terrible one. Technically, Berserker would be way loads worse than Dragoon, because unlike the Dragoon, Berserker cannot be controlled at any given point. So you do need to have you do want to have some party members that are capable of doing some stuff. And even though the Dragoon's not the best job in the entire game, the 2 skills that out of the 3 are definitely must-haves to pick up. So we're going to go ahead and cover those in truth right now. The first ability that players will get when they start learning the Dragoon is Jump. Jump, of course, is the signature attack that Dragoons will have automatic usages to once they switch to this job. And basically, you take a turn to jump in the air, and after a while, they'll descend on the enemy you selected. It does do double damage depending with lances or spears, but it also can do more damage if you have the Dragoon equipped with Twin Lancer or even the Man-Eater, assuming if you can, which you can equip, of course. They can equip, of course. Believe it or not, some staffs do have, Staff of Judgment can also get a boost from performing Jump. So there are a few weapons in this game that actually get a power boost when you perform jump. Of course, most of the time you'll probably use it to avoid attacks. It can be very useful to, especially the likes of Neo X-Steph's Almagrass spell attack, among others. But given the fact that if you're only one party member is doing jumping and 4-job Fiesta, that means they'll probably be the ones surviving as opposed to your other party members, which they get destroyed pretty much without the Dragoon taking the blows. Which is kind of sad, because jump is actually a pretty awesome ability to use. It's just that it just doesn't work very well when you take a look at the main scope of the game or even a 4-job Fiesta perspective. Lance is the second ability that players will get access to. This is acquired after acquiring 150 ABP points. And basically it allows you to drain the target's HP and MP. Now, from what I've studied up on it, it does... my apologies. It does take roughly half of the target's MP and HP. Now, you probably don't get to purchase Ethers until World 2. And this ability is actually very good for mages, especially if you don't want to be spending a whole lot of money and you're kind of limiting your usage of Ethers. But of course, it doesn't come close to matching the strength that you get from Osmos. The same goes with Drain, because you do get some HP when performing Lance, but at the same time, you only get roughly half of what you would normally get from using Osmos and Drain. So, if you want to avoid using, and since we don't get Osmos until like World 3 of Fam Village, this might not be a bad ability to have for your mages. It won't technically, of course, it won't do very good against undead enemies, so it's best to avoid using that if you can. But it will help you get some HP and MP back for your spellcasters. So if you've got party members that are going to be prioritizing in the spellcasting department, it's probably a good idea to have them go into the Dragoon job and get it up to level 2 so you can get access to Lance. The final ability that you get for at 400 ABP is Equip Lances. This will allow any party member with that ability equipped to wield lances. It also transfers the Dragoon's 18 plus strength modifier to whatever class that's, assuming it's not stronger than it. So if you were to give it to a ranger, they would get the 18 attack boost when they have that ability applied. And unfortunately, lances do not really have very good weapon options. Now, technically, Holy Lance is one of the 12 legendary weapons you get in this game, but the Dragon Lance is arguably its best one. The problem is that it requires you to steal from a specific enemy, and that can be very difficult to do in most circumstances. But if you do have jobs that don't really have very high attack strength, they could probably benefit from the Dragoon's equipped lance. Of course, that's only if you're doing a 4-job Fiesta, mind you. Now, there isn't really a whole lot that could be said about Dragoons for combining abilities, because from what I heard, they have very poor synergy with most of the jobs. So it's very hard to put the... I mean, with Lance, it's somewhat forgivable because you can slap that on any of your mages and they don't have to worry about running out of MP for the most part, unless you're casting very expensive spells. But trying to combine physical attacking abilities with the Dragoon is kind of a difficult one, because that's, of course, it's going to be problematic because they're not going to get benefits. Technically, you can give it barehanded so that you can give the monks 26 strength to it, but that's pretty much what I would think. If you want to give it physical attacking abilities, Samurai Zenangan is definitely one option you could consider, especially when you're tossing guild. That would give the Dragoon the ability to attack multiple opponents, as long as you have tons of guild, of course. Throw is not a bad option, of course, if you have plenty of surplus weapons that you can throw, or even shurikens and whatnot. Now, since they can equip knives, spellblades are not a bad ideal for the Dragoon to pick up, because they can most knives can be spellblade, and that would be very useful, especially with Maneater, of course. Now, given the fact that you do have access to heavy armor and shields, one thing you can do is pretty much assign the Dragoon to the cover ability, and that will allow the Dragoon to basically protect allies if you want him to take up a protection role. Of course, it's going to be impossible to add both cover and guard to the Dragoon. Of course, if we were talking about Forge Out Fiesta rules, you would only have like one ability. So basically, giving it guard or cover is probably a nice option for it. Now, of course, if you want, you can give the Monk's Counter or Barehanded to Dragoon as well, and they can benefit from either the Monk's 26 Strength, or you can get the auto-initiate ability to retaliate against enemies with counter. And I think that's pretty much it for the most part. So sadly, the Dragoon is not really one of the best jobs in the entire game, but I would strongly think it's not really the worst. I mean, I've seen some more worser jobs than Dragoon, to be honest. But it definitely has a tall pecking order if it wants to prove it's way better than most of the other jobs. Technically, statistically, you can't really have Dragoon match anything like Monk, Knight, Berserker, or even Samurai. But technically, it's actually the 5th strongest in terms of strength modifiers. You can't really go wrong with that, for one thing. Plus, you do have Jump, which can be useful to avoid attacks. Mages can get a little bit more mileage with Lance until they can get access to Drain and Osmos. And that's pretty much it all that can be said about the Dragoon, pretty much. It's a shame that they kind of dropped the ball in terms of abilities for the Dragoon, but with spin-offs and all that, the Dragoon and other classes related to it actually got a little bit more better stuff than they did in 1992. But if they were to make the Dragoon a lot more ability-based, I mean, the Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced ones gave the Dragoon a lot more breath abilities. It would have been nice to see it have that happen in this game, but unfortunately, since this was made in 1992, that will not happen. But breath abilities would have been cool, though, because that would have given them some elemental options in terms of fire, ice, and lightning, but that's just wishful thinking. But anyway, that covers the Dragoon guide. I will have this posted tomorrow, sometime before the stream or after it. I am going to be on vacation, so I'll probably have some more time to nail more guides. I think for the next guide after Dragoon, we are going to cover... What should I cover to next time? I got it. I know what we can cover. We'll cover the one of the jobs I did for the recent playthrough I just did, the Dancer. I got a lot more things to say about the Dancer than I do have with the Dragoon after playing it first-hand experience. But I'll save that for when the time comes for that. But anyway, you all have a great evening or day. And if you like what I do, feel free to subscribe to the channel, both my Twitch and YouTube channels. It definitely helps the channel grow bit by bit. And I will catch you all later. This is RotorStorm331 signing off. Have a great day. Take care. And I will see you all next time.